Welcome to episode 99 of the Plant Cutting Podcast. Today is our Winter Solstice special, and we have the Village Witch of Asheville, North Carolina, Byron Ballard, back on the show. In this episode, we cover quite a wide range of discussion topics. We have a great time. We always love speaking with Byron, and I hope that you'll enjoy this conversation too. Okay, let's get to it.
All right. Welcome back to the show, Byron Ballard. Thank you for joining us at the Plant Cutting Podcast today.
Oh, it is so good to see your happy faces. I miss you.
I know. We miss you.
We used to run into each other occasionally, and now it's like y'all are farming and I'm the touring knucklehead. And it used to be we were all the touring knuckleheads.
Right. I know. Well, we'll get a little taste of that this winter when we travel down south to Florida.
Yeah. That'd be great to see you.
Yeah, it'd be really nice.
We definitely haven't been touring as much at all, basically.
Yeah.
You can't tour because you can't get past the geese.
Those mean old geese.
You must not leave.
Yeah.
You stay home. You home.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about this last season? Since we last talked, we've had Byron on the show twice before, episode 5 and episode 47. And this is episode 99, if you can believe it.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
And I don't think I've heard all of them. I'm going to have to go back through and see what I've missed.
Yeah.
I generally really jump in when it's somebody I know, and it's like, oh boy, I can have all three of them together. This will be great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
And let's just say congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
a huge accomplishment.
thank you so much. Yeah, it's good to celebrate the wins, you know? You got to take that time to soak it in sometimes.
Because there are plenty of people who jump into this kind of thing, podcasting or blogging or vlogging or whatever, and man, they hit it hard and it's going to be great. And about 9 months later, it's like, I'd like to have a show, but I don't want to talk to anybody about anything. And then, or they're like me, I blogged literally every day for years. And then one day I just woke up and went, I'm not going to do it today. And then a month later, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm back. I wasn't back. 3 months later, hi, everybody. Nah. So I think I'm done with blogging.
Yeah. Well, you go through phases, right? And sometimes
absolutely.
I think like, you know, maybe you focus your energy on other things like writing books and speaking engagements and farming your land, you know?
Did that look monk enough for you? I did that because, and I will announce it on your show first.
Oh my gosh.
No, my Matreons heard about it last night. Yesterday, I signed the contract with Llewellyn for my 8th book.
Oh my gosh.
And
yeah.
And I wrote the proposal, and I can't tell you what it's about yet.
Okay.
I wrote the proposal not knowing if I could actually write the book. I mean, it's a really complicated, hard subject.
Yeah.
And so the contract, they took the proposal in like 4 days. They went, oh, hell yeah, we want this. And here is your contract. And I just sat on it going, oh my God, can I do this? So I cheerfully signed the contract yesterday and sent it back. And I still have no idea if I can write the book.
We believe in you.
Yeah. It's a good challenge. You know, sometimes you just gotta. I did the same thing this summer. I applied to be on a astrology conference, and then they let me in, and I was like, oh crap. Okay, I better get to work here.
How did it go?
Went great. Yeah, went great. I talked about 17th century astrological herbalists, astrologers and herbalists, and it was great, and I learned a lot too.
We separated, you know,
Right,
we've become so siloed in the modern occult world. It's like this person does this person does that, And like diviners used to divine with whatever was at hand. They weren't specialists. So if they had their cards with them, they used their cards, or they could use your tea leaves, or they could read what the leaves look like. And it was the same because you did astrology and herbalism together, because how else would you know when to harvest? How
Yeah.
else would you know when to plant, when it would be the most potent and efficacious? I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. And
Is a book going to come out of that, or a
oh,
paper?
we'll see. We'll
Good
see. It'll probably be
question.
part of something. I'm working on some book stuff. It's just it takes. I feel like I'm almost at the level where I can do that, but I'm just need a little more time, a little more study. But it is in the 17th. I mean, that's still isn't really considered the Renaissance, but it is basically still the Renaissance. And it's like that was the Renaissance. So the Renaissance man was, did lots of different things.
Yeah.
But those doctors, they used the astrology to diagnose too.
Yes.
And that's what's really fascinating to me too, especially like how many ways they used astrology, how many different ways. And in the 20th century, it's just actually even in the early 20th century, we had medical astrology, mundane astrology, all these things. But sort of in the 60s, 70s, it's like it was all psychological, and there's not forgot about horary, forgot about medical. Yeah. And that's what's really interesting to me. All the different ways you can apply it.
And it leaks over into our big passion, which is growing things.
Yeah.
Because then you look at the man of signs and you go, well, I can't plant this right now because the moon is in the feet. That would be crazy to plant it now.
Yeah.
And our ancestors used that religiously. And they would not have dreamed of planting corn in the wrong sign, because it was a waste of time and a waste of land, because it wouldn't do well. And they knew that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's something that also really interests me, is how much of that Renaissance science of astrology and all these things was retained in the Appalachians. And I was reading Phyllis D. Light's book. Do you know her? She's fantastic, Southern folk medicine. But for them, they talked about the signs as the parts of the body. Like the feet is Pisces, but and I actually like that better in terms of like Western tropical zodiac. Is it because it's not linked? The Western tropical zodiac isn't linked to the actual stars. Like the constellation Aries is not linked to the sign Aries anymore.
Right.
So it makes more sense for it to be the head.
Yeah, I love it. I just find all of that fascinating. And when I was growing up, I didn't know. We had one neighbor who still planted by that. My father was a generation removed from being a farmer, so he was only about whether you planted in the light of the moon or the dark of the moon. So it was a much more simplistic thing. But as I've been doing more herbal work myself and more of this forest farming, I think, especially we were talking about ginseng earlier, is that there are plants that are fussy not only about where they are, but when they are. And they need to be planted at a particular sign to do their best. It doesn't mean they won't do well if you plant them any other time. But if you want optimum supply, you need to treat it in an optimum way.
Right.
Yeah. And so do you plant them in Taurus?
The ginseng?
Yeah. Okay. Me too.
Do you?
Yeah. Taurus. Taurus for root crops, right? And then I use the water signs for anything else, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I've been finding that very useful.
But I do vary from that, because there are times when I walk out, like to hang clothes on the line, and the smell, there's something about the smell in the air. There's just enough moisture in the soil, and the soil is releasing that fragrance. It's like this vital fragrance that the soil itself exudes. And I'll go, oh, now it's time to put the onions in. Oh, now I need to. And sometimes I will go through my seeds and go, what wants to be planted now?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it all sounds very scientific to look at the man of signs and go,
Right.
now we are in Taurus and this is when, but sometimes for me, it's just this weird intuitive thing of planting, and something wants to be planted today. What is it? And
Yeah.
sometimes it'll be something absolutely counterintuitive. So the moon will be waxing and I will go carrots. I have to do carrots now. And nobody plants carrots in the light of the moon. That's insane. But I've had really good carrots come from that intuitive hit. So I
Wow.
don't know
Yeah.
what that is exactly. But it's nice to be able to say it to you two and you don't go,
No, no, yeah, following the intuition is totally part of being a grower and, farmer, herbalist. Sometimes you just know when the conditions are right. And so you got to follow that instinct.
yeah.
I try to leave some space in my day, for the intuition to take over. Like I'm a Capricorn, so I like schedule and to-do lists and charts and things and like having a lot of structure. But then I also like to have some non-structured part of my day built into the structure of my day where I can just like follow the whims of whatever nature is telling me to do. You go around and walk outside and you're like, you want to be harvested right now, or you need to be weeded right now, or, and just follow the whims.
It just feels so healthy. Where's your moon? Do you mind telling me?
It's Cancer.
It rising.
Right. It's my rising sign.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
So
It must
she's
be
very-
hard to get you away from home sometimes.
I take my home wherever I go.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Like have this little like traveling altar, and I just wherever I go, I'm like, okay, I'm home now. And I set up my altar with my tarot cards and my journal, and little candle and crystal, but I do like making a home wherever I go. Like when I was traveling full time, like I had the bus and that was my home, and it is hard to get me out of the house. Like when it is time to go, like it's like a vortex and try to get me out of the house. Like if you give me like a day in advance deadline, then I'll be out on time. Like if we if we try to be ready to go a day in advance. So yeah.
That sounds really healthy though for a Capricorn to set some time aside for that. I'm a
Yeah.
Pisces, so I kind of walk through the world listening to the tiny voices in my head and in my and I have had to train myself over the years to be the list maker. And now I'm really pretty good at that. I have like the long range list, and then I have a short range list, and I sometimes will have a right now, today, don't forget to do the applesauce list,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
Right.
it is counterintuitive to me because I want to just kind of walk through the world and go, today I feel like writing 5,000 words. I think I'll do that. Or I go out and hang out the laundry and go, today I'm going to plant the spinach that we will eat in early March. But I can't always do that anymore because my life has big boundaries around it, some of it.
Yeah.
Do I sound sad when I say that?
No,
Well, tell
not me.
tell us about your schedule. You've
Yeah.
been pretty busy going to a lot of festivals and
Yeah.
I have. And I couldn't even tell you how many places I went this year, but I finished up the Saturday before Thanksgiving was my last away from home gig. And that was not far away. It was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And it was the podcast we do, Weird Mountain Gals. It was our first personal appearance thing. So that was interesting and weird and good. It was really good. The people were wonderful. It was a terrific crowd, and it felt a little bit like, I don't know, being on a comedy politics tour, like those liberal redneck tours where they're cracking lots of jokes about the region, but they're also saying, also, here's what you need to do. So it felt a little weird that way, but that finished it up, and I was really tired. don't think I've gotten over the tiredness of just, okay, I'm home on a Sunday night. I've got 3 days to do laundry and to pack a bag and to get ready to go out on the road on Thursday. And I did a lot of that this year, a lot of it, too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a part of touring for me that was it's so exhausting, you know.
Yeah.
And if you don't have enough, like, I'm a Cancer son, so my vitality is not necessarily the highest. I've got decent vitality, but it gets, being on the road and like not having time to take care of yourself, you really just get depleted so quickly.
Yeah, and I'm a person who grew up food insecure. So for many years when I was touring, and I also have some food stuff, like I don't eat a lot of carbohydrates. I just don't. It's not healthy for me. And I would go to these places and they would assure me they would have food for me. And then they would bring out the pasta salad or the rice or the whatever. And I started, in fact, right now my computer is sitting on my food box that I travel with. So now I travel with food. So I bring peanut butter, I bring crackers, I bring little pouches of oatmeal. I bring the stuff that I know that I can eat so that I don't have that kind of underlying feeling of I'm not going to get fed, or I'm going to have to eat food that isn't good for me. So sometimes you can take on that kind of challenge and it helps a little bit. I always travel with my own pillow because I like a small pillow, but also because my pillow smells like me.
Right.
So I don't lie down on a hotel pillow and it smells like bleach or whatever hotel pillows smell like.
Yeah.
It smells like me. And so I never wash the pillowcase when I'm leaving. I want it to be nice and dirty from my skin oil and all of that so that it smells like me. And that helps. But
Yeah.
I'm a Pisces double Scorpio.
Mm.
So when I'm on, and I can do the things and I can talk to the people and I can laugh and I can do intensity. I can do all that stuff. But I have to be able to get away and to get in my tent and to just not be peopled for a certain amount of time. I describe myself as a high functioning introvert.
Yeah.
I can do it when I have to do it, but I also, if I don't get that time of being alone, and I just remember how it was when you all were at Starwood that first time, when the beautiful butter colored bus pulled in, Isaac came down the steps. And there's just no way to get away at a place like Starwood. Because even if you go in your tent, somebody will come right to the tent and go, "Are you in there? I'm coming in." And they just come in. So I found that if I went down in the woods, I was usually okay. But then I had to deal with the mosquitoes. So Starwood is it's a place that I know I will get no rest. I will get little real nutrition except for peanut butter and oatmeal. I will drink a lot of water because I'm smart. But it's exhausting, and being a performer, it had to be double exhausting. So you had to be up there and you had to do. You had the hills and the rivers. Here we go. And then
because you're giving your energy to you get reciprocated back, but it's being on stage, the center of attention, everything. It's a lot. And putting your heart on out there for everybody to that's hard.
It is hard. And I don't know how. I was talking to a friend of mine in Alabama about this, about these celebrity witches and celebrity pagans. And I don't know how they do what they do and still tend to a community.
Right.
But we decided that the answer was they don't tend to a community.
Right.
They're celebrity pagans. And they may have their small group that they work with, but they're not doing community work in the sense that we think of community work. They're doing a whole other kind of thing. And that's no judgment on the thing that they're doing, but I can't tend my local community and my sort of virtual community and write books and tour and farm and tend my family. I can't do all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same thought about some of the like Insta famous herbalists and
TikTokers,
influencers
yeah.
and stuff. And I'm like, I wonder the same thing. Like, how do they have time to do it every day when like I'm filling orders and trying to take care of plants and trying to just do, you know, housework and like the day-to-day things here. I feel like my days are just so filled, and I would love to like spread more knowledge, and I appreciate the folks that do focus on that. But yeah, I feel like it would make me an ineffective community herbalist.
Yes, exactly. And it may be that we have to choose between those.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that you tend, well, it's a thing I say all the time about grieving globally but working locally.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
see what the larger question is, and does it apply to your community? And then you work there, because we can't all work globally. I mean, we're not all Bill McKibben or Derek Jensen or
Yeah.
Joanna Macy. We're
Right.
not those people.
Yeah.
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 And it's good to have those people too. Everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also not feel bad that you're not like a famous, on that level, because everyone has their own role, and I think astrology is a good way to look at it too. Like with the Cancer rising, Moon in Cancer, she's more into the local people, into the people that she's communicating with one-on-one. But if like you're a Leo rising, Sun in Leo, or like Leo midheaven, Sun in Leo, then you're gonna be
Out there.
you want to be.
Yeah.
You have the vitality to do that too. You have the resources. You're a full extrovert. I sometimes wonder if there actually are true extroverts. I was like,
Think more about that.
well, how can you actually be on all the time? How can you? Maybe people can, but I feel like everybody needs some alone time to recharge.
Yeah.
How can you not?
Yeah. No, I've known some of those Leos. Oh my God. I mean, you gotta get a Leo with an Aries rising and Moon in what's another super vital sign?
Taurus, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the vitality.
Yeah. Those people, it's tempting to become what the TikTokers like to refer to as an energy vampire with those kind of.
Yeah.
It's like you just want to be around them and go,
can I get a little of that?
oh, I feel so much better now. Thank you. Yeah, it took me years. I mean, I say that I know enough astrology to be dangerous. Yeah. So I'll be the person who's reading your cards for you. And I'll say, so when's your birthday? And they'll tell me. And I'll go, interesting. And when is your partner's birthday? Oh, interesting. You must have really great sex. And they'll go, well, we do, but how do you know that? And I'll go, well, it's all that nice, yummy Scorpio and a little bit of Cancer. And, that's kind of the extent of my knowledge. So I can say, so Leo with, I don't know, with Aries. And I just think what a Leo with Aries would be like. Oh my God. I would not want to be around them.
Well,
but they have great hair.
Yeah.
They have great hair.
Yeah.
And this is no disrespect to any of our Leos listening. In fact, I'm a little bit jealous in some ways.
Yeah, I know that energy.
Absolutely. My father was a Leo, and he was quite the ladies' man. And he was one of those people that he knew everybody. So anywhere you went with my dad, they'd go, oh, Hub, how you doing? And I'd be like, how do you know that guy? And he'd go, I don't know. I know him somewhere. I don't know. Yeah. He was the opposite, though, in the hair department. He didn't have any hair.
Yeah.
It was like the opposite Leo thing. But yeah, and he had until he was drinking, he had a really sunny disposition, got along with people really well, and had tons and tons of energy.
Yeah.
So he was a truck driver during the day, and then he'd come home and farm at night because that was the thing he really wanted to do.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, you got to have a lot of energy for that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and I know wonderful Leos, but lots of energy.
Yeah, for sure. My father's a Leo too.
Ah, yeah. And
Yeah.
a ladies' man.
Yeah, yeah, he is. And yeah, he is. He's definitely gregarious, and he has a lot of knowledge and likes to share his knowledge, and he does like magic tricks for kids. He loves kids.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of having lots of energy and expending it, now we're kind of in getting into the winter season, the season of rest. So do you
Mm,
have the time space for some rest now?
I do. And
Yay.
it's sleep. So I go hard all day long. Bam, 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 bam. And at 10 o'clock, I brush and floss my teeth and I
Mhm.
wash my face and
Mhm.
put on my gym jams. And
Yep.
I'm in bed and asleep by 10:30 usually.
Oh.
No later than 11, up at 7. And
Mhm.
I am lucky, especially for a person my age, because a lot of older people don't sleep well. And I
Yeah.
sleep like a stone. It's like, I get into my position and I
Yep.
sleep a little bit like the hanged man position,
Oh,
except I'm kind of on my belly, but I
yeah.
have one leg up and I have my arms in a weird position, and that's the way my body likes to sleep. And it's like I get into that position and I immediately fall asleep. So, yes, I'm taking advantage of the dark time and I'm getting sleep. Now, I'm not getting rest during the day because right now, there
Mhm.
is a pot of chopped up apples on my stove, and as soon as I finish here, I'm turning them on to make more applesauce because I love applesauce, and I love to make it with those big Rome delicious apples that
Mm.
nobody likes to eat because they're too mealy, but they make great applesauce, and they're
Yeah.
super cheap in the store right now. They're like 98 cents a pound.
Wow.
Wow.
So I've been dragging apples in, and I just go. Let's do some laundry. Let's do this. Let's do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, sleeping. How about y'all? Are you getting any rest?
Oh yeah. Well,
Not
Good.
me. Not
I
me.
mean, she's getting less than me, I guess.
Yeah,
we're,
because
we're getting
I
sleep though.
I do my herbal products business, as well as the farming and podcasting and herbalism stuff. And the holiday season right now is kind of the busiest time of year for me. I make more money in November and December than like many months of the rest of the year combined. And then it kind of drops off after the holidays. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of prep and product making and selling at markets. And yeah, so usually come January is my time to just like unplug and relax. So I'm looking forward to that.
And do you lay in all your supplies really early so you have enough jars and whatever else?
Yeah,
Beeswax, all that stuff.
Yep, I get everything in bulk. And yeah, have it all here ready to go. So that's good.
But we are.
I don't envy you. I did retail for about 10 years, and Christmas is terrible.
I know. Yeah, it's intense.
Well, I think we are. We're kind of sleeping in every day, which is
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the dark time is good for that.
But when you say sleeping in, does that mean like sleeping till 9, or does that
Yeah.
mean sleeping till 7:30?
Like 9.
Like 9
Yeah.
or 9:30 even. Well, we don't go to bed until midnight, so
Right.
yeah. So yeah, like 9:30.
That's
Really?
good. No, that's some
Yeah.
good sleep. Are you
Yeah.
good sleepers though?
I am.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
We
Good.
had that full moon in Gemini. So
Uh-huh.
the moon was conjunct a retrograde Mars,
Yeah.
and that we did not get any sleep.
Oh yeah. I am very influenced by the full moon. Like I just know the 4 days around the full moon I'm going to be waking up or not being able to fall asleep.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the opposite.
Huh.
So
Oh, interesting.
I used to sleep in a room where I could sleep with a full moon literally shining on my face. And
Nice.
I'd be like,
Uh,
The new moon. I can't sleep at the new moon.
Interesting.
From dark moon until we see a distinct sliver in the sky, I am like awake. I hear every noise. I wonder what. Yeah, so I'm just the opposite. Isn't that weird?
So interesting.
I bet it's because you're Pisces and you're a little more psychic than us. And so you're
Well,
like more open to the, like in the dark of the moon, there's more dangerous stuff around. Maybe.
So you're aware.
there's dangerous stuff around that I can't see.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So you're like, I need my eyes one eye open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just have like too much energy for in the full moon. It's like can't sleep. You know, there's it's just like keeps going.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So do you get up and do things if you can't sleep, or do you just like talk to each other or listen to music, or you know?
I mostly just like think.
Usually,
Are you overthinking anything, Isaac, at all? Overthinking anything? No.
I usually will just not even try to go to bed until like 1 a.m, or like I'll get my like fourth wind at like 10 o'clock and just start doing tasks or product making or cleaning the house or something manic.
Yeah, we do read though. We'll read.
Yeah, reading helps. Mm-hmm.
It's better than watching things on the screens.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That does not help. No.
No. And I live in a fairly urban place. What I would love is if I could just like take one of those old-fashioned lawn chairs that goes flat like this and put it in the backyard and just look up at the sky if I couldn't sleep, like on dark moon. But I don't necessarily feel safe doing that here. If I'm down at the little farmhouse, I do feel safe.
Yeah.
But here, and also we have more wild animals here. So we have bears, foxes, coyotes. I don't worry about groundhogs. I probably should. They're probably meaner than all the other things I just mentioned.
Maybe.
Oh man, groundhogs are bastards.
Yeah.
They're just, and people don't understand that these little fat buggers can climb trees. They can climb fences. I mean, yeah, they're really widely adaptable to urban living.
And they can eat all of your food, all of your garden.
Yeah.
And they have.
Yeah.
Not recently, because then we put in the fence that goes deep underground. Well, not deep, a foot underground. And we put wobbly fence at the top. So it's not strung tight. So if they're climbing and they get to that, they fall down.
Oh, that's smart.
Nice.
Well, but it looks like shitty fencing, but it's to keep the bastards out.
Yeah, that's effective.
It's been, I guess, 10 years ago, I had like perfect romaine. Perfect. Begin harvesting the next day, romaine. And I go out the next day and it's gone, except for the little stubs. And they'd eaten all this big row of romaine. And I declared war on them and their descendants until the last one. And I did all the stuff they tell you to do. I peed, I put hair, I did all that stuff. But it was the physical barrier that was the thing that finally worked. Plus having neighbors that don't know all of that, and they just plant stuff in their yards, and then the groundhogs eat that, and they leave me alone.
That's great.
I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah.
Our dog has helped with that kind of stuff. That's his job. He needs a job because he's a herding dog, and patrolling at night is one of his favorite things.
I love that.
I mean, we have him in for the most of the night, but like, you know, until we go to bed, he's out patrolling.
He's out keeping an eye on everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. My daughter and my son-in-law just got a dog. They've had him about a little over a year, I guess. And he's another one of those herding dogs. And he doesn't have really a job because they live, you know, they both work and they live in a house. And so he herds them. One
Yeah.
of them's in the bedroom and one is in the kitchen.
That
He'll
makes
go
sense.
to the one that is standing up
Yeah.
and like, come on,
Come on,
you
go in there.
get over here with this guy.
Yeah.
And that's the reason they got him, is because they went to the adoption place and they were looking, oh, he's the adorable dog, and here's another adorable dog, and he kept working till he got them herded together, and then they were together and they were like, oh, this obviously is our dog, look, here we are standing together and he's at our feet looking up at us like, oh, you did really well, good for you, good for you.
Oh. That's so cute.
I wish they could, I don't know, get him a part-time job. There are a lot of sheep around there and goats.
Yeah.
Just going in the field and moving them around, 3
Right.
days a week. I think it'd be good for him.
Yeah, definitely. We tried that with Oliver, our dog. The Amish neighbor next door asked if he could borrow him to get his sheep in from the field. And we were like, oh yeah, give it a try. That'd be awesome. And he didn't come back to ask for Oliver again after that. I don't think he did a great job.
Well, one time we took care of his sheep while he was gone, and not his sheep, his horses. Someone else was taking care of the sheep, and we brought Oliver with us, and he herded the sheep.
He did.
And it was like magnificent. It was beautiful. It was like, this is what you were born to do. This is your purpose. And he realized, like, oh my God, they're doing what I want them to do.
Yeah.
They're moving when I bark at them
He loved
and
it.
run. It was so amazing. And he was herding them, and he herded them away from where they were supposed to be. He like
Yeah.
just put them in the totally wrong direction.
Yeah.
So
Poor Oliver.
yeah.
He just needed that extra bit of training.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
exactly.
it. He didn't get that training from a young age on how to be a sheep herder. He just has the instinct. So
But it's amazing how strong those instincts are.
yeah.
It's pretty cool. I guess it's
Mhm.
epigenetics or something.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but it is amazing to watch. And it's
Mhm.
amazing to watch a trained dog
Yeah.
do that.
I
And it's
know.
just a series of whistles and clicks and snaps, and they
And
go, oh yeah, here they go.
Right.
We forget that all domestic animals had a job.
right.
Yes.
You didn't put them in doggy daycare all day, and they had work to do. They were on the farm to do work.
Mhm.
They weren't your fur babies. They
Yeah.
had a job. I
Yeah.
remember my daughter was shocked years ago because we put feeder goldfish in our rain barrels every spring because they eat the mosquito larvae.
Nice.
And she was very excited and she wanted to name the ones. So the ones in this barrel, and I said, don't name the goldfish because these are working goldfish.
Right.
And as it's getting cold, she said, where are the goldfish going to live in the winter? And I went, goldfish are going to stay in the barrels in the winter. And she said, and they're going to be okay in there, aren't they? And I was like, probably not, honey. Sorry. Their job is to do. And sometimes if we have a mild winter, they get all the way down,
Yeah.
and everything thaws out and they're fine.
Mhm.
But even a goldfish can't live in a solid block of ice over the winter. And I
Yeah.
tried to explain to her they're here to do a particular job, and that's what they do. And
And don't name.
and I'm not as soft-hearted about all that as maybe I once was, because
Mhm.
here's your job. Thanks for doing it. I'm very grateful that they do it.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
yeah, so I love the idea of even of your geese, your crazy geese. I bet they let you know anytime somebody is approaching.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they're very loud, talkative.
Also, if they see you, then they will let you know that they want some snacks
Yes.
very loudly.
So they make a lot of noise. Do they run towards you?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't attack us, but I think they say hi by going
Kind of like somebody from New York City is like, how you doing, you fucking asshole? You know, that's the geese.
That's their vibe.
Well, my great grandmother, who's the person who taught me how to, as we say now, harvest a chicken for the pot.
Mhm.
Her chickens were her best friends, and she would go out and she'd have a handful of bread or whatever, and she'd chuck all the chickens, and they were all around her, looking at her adorably and scratching or whatever. And she'd pick out the one that was going to be for dinner. And she had a little hatchet, and she would just she would walk through, and she would just pick up one casually by the neck.
Yeah.
And she would walk out, and they would still be there scratching around. And she would walk towards the place where she was going to cut its head off. And then she would do this and wring its neck as she was walking. And then we'd get to the stump, and she'd put it down on the stump and take the little hatchet and cut its head off. Done.
Yeah.
But the chickens never never understood that her walking among them was really a sign of a predator. She was not a predator for them because she fed them and she was with them. And so I guess that makes her kind of the most dangerous predator, the unexpected predator. And then suddenly, where's Barbara? Barbara was here yesterday.
I know.
What's that smell? It's Barbara frying at a big cast iron pan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a little sad, but that's also not. I mean, that's the way humans are. It's like people in these days are so disassociated from, the realities of life, and death is a part of life.
Right.
And we all, even if you're a vegan, you're killing and eating many things, living beings.
Yeah.
Oh, and AC, especially as an herbalist, I mean, plants have life. Plants are communicative.
Yeah, they are.
I got a great big rosemary plant that's been in the corner of the garden, I don't know how many years, decade anyway. And she communicates all the time. And all the plants, if you listen, are communicating. And yes, those carrots that you pull from the ground and eat, my vegan friends, they have life. I mean, it may not be the kind of life you think of as having a face and making sounds for you, but it's definitely life, because life feeds on life. It's what nature's all about.
Yeah.
And here we have the issue of we're having super development, hyper development, gentrification. And so now we have bears that walk through downtown Asheville.
Wow.
We have two different bears in our neighborhood that we think of as our bears. And people bitch and complain because, well, the bears get in the trash can. Well, you have to know now that you can't put your trash out until Wednesday morning, because we have that. And we have that because we've taken over so much of their territory. And we have deer, and there are several deer diseases that are showing up in the Southeast. And it's because we got rid of all the apex predators, which means we have to be the apex predator.
Yeah.
And so people get squeamish about that. Oh, but how could you shoot a precious little deer? Because we have that responsibility now, because we killed off the wolves, and we have killed off coyotes, and we've killed off anything that would keep the size of the herd what it needs to be healthy.
Yeah, and then also created a lot more habitat for them, because they thrive on that forest edge, and when there was a lot more contiguous forest, there was less habitat for them. And now that there's all the forest is cut up by farms and suburban houses and so there's a lot more room for them, a lot more space, a lot more habitat. But I've took up that responsibility this year. I didn't get a deer though. I was too busy. I didn't even see any. We didn't have any apples. We have this little area that's old apple trees.
Yeah.
And last year we had so many apples, and the deer would just go right through there. But I didn't even see a single one this year down there. So
no good apples this year?
Not where we are, no.
Yeah, we noticed, I mean, we just lost our last apple tree, but we noticed that it was like alternate years. One year would be super great, and we'd do cider, and I'd put up a lot of applesauce. And then the next year it would be pretty lean. So I don't know if that's a function of maybe older trees that are less hybridized.
Too. Last year was an awesome year, so it makes sense that this year was not so good, and hopefully next year it'll be a great year too.
Yeah.
They
Because I'm
are.
sure the trees have been hybridized so that they do a consistent crop.
Well, so we have an old
Oh.
orchard. I think it was probably a cider orchard from the early 20th century. So they're probably 100-year-old trees.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I need to clean it up a little bit. Like there's a lot of ash trees, like young ash trees and cherry trees and so on, sticking up through it. I've been working at it a little bit, but need to, clean it up more, get rid of some of
Prune.
its, prune, get rid of some of the competition with the ash trees that are starting to stick above the canopy,
Yeah, yeah.
and so that I think that'll help. Plus, I'm planting young apple trees. Most of them are heirlooms though.
Yeah, good. What have you planted?
Oxford Black is one that's done really well.
That is
And
a great cider apple.
okay,
Oh, nice.
I'm really excited for it. It is apparently it's just a really dark apple, and I haven't eaten any yet because I grafted it myself on an apple that was growing out of the field, like a small apple seedling.
Oh,
It
good for
did really,
you.
really well. Yeah. But it's supposed to have really dark flowers too, like pink
Ooh.
flowers. Yeah, and kind of dark leaves. It does. And then I'm doing what is it? Cavil Blanc de Hiver. It's a winter white Cavil from France. It's really old, from like the 16th century. It has a
Ooh.
really bobby kind of look to it. And then some other ones. I did graft a newer variety called Gold Rush, and it's supposed to be resistant to. It was bred for resistance
Yeah,
to
it's resistant
diseases.
to rust, I think, and scab, right?
Yeah, and I think fire blight.
Yeah,
So
good.
I did that and a couple other ones. Maiden
Where do
Blush.
you,
Yeah.
where do you get the scions?
So I got some of them from Fedco.
Oh, yeah.
And then also I'm on one of the reasons that I still use Facebook for some things is the groups, and there are all these like scion exchange groups. So you can
Ooh.
people
I'm
will
reaching
post.
for my phone right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like pawpaw groups, apple groups, persimmon groups. So that's kind of how I've been doing too. You could just PayPal somebody $20, they send you a bunch of scion wood. So
I've taken classes in grafting,
Mhm.
and it looks like it's not hard, but it also,
No.
I don't know, I haven't tried it yet. So it wasn't hard?
Well, so basically you just have to get the green touching the green and it wrapped up real good.
Okay.
Then it can grow. And you might have some. I'll do like twice as many as I expect, as I want.
Yeah.
Just because you'll have some failures. But I've been surprised at how many successes I've had. So
Wow.
yeah.
There was a woman here in town. I mean, there still is a woman here in town, and she has been grafting real pear scions onto Bradford pears.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've done
And
that.
that's kind of a movement here.
Great.
And the
Great.
more you graft onto it, and then she's pruning away the Bradford part of the trees and
Yeah.
leaving only the scions to thrive. It's really interesting.
That's a great way to do it, because the Bradford pears are really abundant and wild and not
Aggressive.
tasty.
Yeah.
And aggressive, yeah.
Humans. Yeah, they're not as good as our other varieties of pears. So that's a great way to do it.
I
Yeah,
have found
yeah.
that those Bradford pears or the calorie pears at about this time of year, you can't actually eat them because they like blet, they rot a little bit.
Yeah.
They're soft and they kind of taste like spiced pear.
Really?
Like little like spiced pear berries. Try it if they're soft, try a little.
Okay. I'll try it. I'll trust you on that.
I mean, I like, I'm a Sagittarius rising, got Uranus on my ascendant, so I'm a little bit weird, eccentric. I like to try a lot of different stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a person who will try no, I'll try anything.
Yeah.
There was a big discussion about dried crickets
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. I think it was on Facebook, and people were like, "Gross! I would never eat." And I was like, "Man, that is a cheap, crunchy, delicious form of protein." And people were like, "Have you eaten crickets?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yes. Yeah, I have
Oh.
to. I've
Yeah.
tried
I mean,
sounds.
like I said, I grew up food insecure, so I'll eat just about anything.
Mhm.
What about cicadas? Have you done cicadas?
I haven't. I've never had the opportunity. Have you?
I haven't. That is one thing I was like, I could do this, but
I tried them once, fried. They were
Fried?
fine.
They were fine.
You can fry anything and it's fine.
I bet
Was
they'd be
it
good
like
air
fried
fried.
in olive oil with a little bit of garlic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, spices and fried in olive and coconut oil and
Yeah.
a little bit of breading.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
There's something about the crunchiness that really works with insects. It's like, yeah, that's how that should be.
Yeah.
I think it would be good, probably air fried too.
Mhm.
They do kind of remind me of shrimp. Maybe they're like
Yeah.
a land shrimp. You know?
Mhm. Mhm.
In fact, that's how you could market them as a land shrimp.
Yeah.
Right.
What is this New England land shrimp?
New England land shrimp.
Well, that's the thing, though, is they're so it's only every 17 years, or so there's a 17-year one, a 13-year one. So we haven't had any here yet, but in Western Pennsylvania, we had. I remember when I was 7 years old, that was the first time I saw them, and they were
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was in the Hudson
It's
Valley.
been a while now, but I remember going to my bank, and they were literally a few inches deep, and
Ooh,
somebody had come out with a broom to kind of sweep a pathway through them. But
Yeah.
we're probably due for that in the next couple of years. That's probably been 15 years ago.
Well, there's your opportunity.
yeah.
Fry them up, yum.
Mhm. So I wanted to ask you too about some of the solstice or Yule time rituals that over the years you've really found enjoyable or maybe come back to again and again. So do you want to talk a little bit about solstice times?
And what your viewers and listeners need to know is that was actually what we were going to talk about today. But because of who we are, we
Right.
ended up talking about fried cicadas. So yeah, it's food, isn't it? It's just food is the thing. Here is my favorite thing about solstice. Now, I grew up in a massively dysfunctional family, as a lot of us did. And some of my Christmas memories are not very pleasant. So when I got old enough to make my own pleasant memories and was a fully out and in control of my life pagan, I switched to the winter solstice. And my daughter and I, for many, many years, until she left home, we would get up before the sun on solstice morning, and we had rattles and drums and shakers, and we would sing the sun up on solstice morning.
Right.
That was something that that I haven't been able to do with her in years. And now I just get up before the sun and I go out with a cup of tea and I sing the sun up solstice morning. And that, for me, it's not only a tradition now because we've been doing it for 30 plus years, but it's also that kind of sympathetic magic. Yes, I understand that the sun doesn't go anywhere, that the planet, in fact, turns and turns away from the sun and tilts on its axis. It does all of that. I understand that's what really happens. But there's something so primeval about sitting in the darkness and singing and the sun, and you see everything because we're in the mountains and we don't see the sun rise. Everything goes from being dark to being dark gray to being grayish blue to then we see the sun hours after it's brightening the sky. So there's something about that that connects me so directly to my ancestors, and that is a delicious thing. And then one year, and only 1 year, I haven't done it since, but I will do it again because it was very powerful. A group of us sat vigil outside for the solstice, and we had a fire, and we sang songs, and we drank delicious drinks. And there was one sleeping bag, and people took turns when they just got too tired. they'd get into the sleeping bag and they'd sleep for maybe an hour and a half, and then they'd get out and somebody would immediately go into the warmth of the sleeping bag because it was really cold that year. It was a really cold solstice. And we did it. And we sang and we drummed, and somebody came by the road with a shofar. And I don't remember if Hanukkah was happening about the same time or not, but this person blew the shofar as we were vigiling up the sun. And so those kind of really simple activities feel so powerful to me because they don't require lots of words or lots of ritual or fancy robes or any of that. It's all about acknowledging that I am this thing, this tiny thing on this tiny planet in this enormous universe. And my job, my one job, is to do this. Just like those cicadas, their one job is to come crashing out every 17 years, make sure there's going to be more cicadas, and then they die. And that's their one job. So I love that. And it, when we were talking about all the things we do, you created these beautiful products, and you learn from your neighbors, and you teach your neighbors, and you tend your community, and you are the Amish taxi driver sometimes, and you plant the ginseng. We have all these things, and we do the conferences and the festivals, and we do all those things. But maybe we just have one job. And to figure out what that one job is, that may be the whole point of our existence. What is my one job? And so I guess it keeps me humble, if that makes sense. It's like, I'm just going to sing the sun up just this once. I'm not going to do it at midsummer. And I don't do it at midsummer, though you could. That'd be kind of fun to do. I don't do it at midsummer. So yeah, that's my favorite. And I love having fresh greenery in the house. I don't do that so much anymore because we usually go to my daughter's for the holiday. And I hate to waste fresh greenery. And they live in Christmas tree country, so they got all the fresh greenery they can stand. How about y'all? Have you all started traditions since you've been there on the land and in the farm?
Well, we this year, I mean, it's not for solstice, but this year for Samhain, I did a sleep out around a fire with a few friends, and we did an apple ritual where we cut an apple in half, like the hamburger way, the fat way, so that it revealed the 5-pointed star. And then we put the seeds in our mouth and made intentions for the year, and then planted the seeds in soil, and planted our intentions. And that was a powerful ritual. But just sitting outside, like you said, welcoming the sun in and singing the sun in, I sort of did the same thing with the fire, and just sitting by the fire and honoring that element. And that's something that I really love to do, is just tend to that fire. So I would be curious. I would love to try that this year, welcoming in the sun. Singing the sun in. I really like that idea.
Well, I was doing that kind of with the hunting, right? You got to wake up before dawn, and before the sun starts, before dawn. And just because I'm not necessarily a morning person, so I don't do this very often. But yeah, watching the sun start, like the light emerge, is really powerful. Like the world but the world is also alive at night. I remember walking out to the woods and seeing Jupiter and Mars and the moon moving between them. It's like, wow.
And I love the forest in winter. I love the woods in winter because I love to be able to see the bodies of trees. Once the understory has all died down and all the leaves are rustling around and whatever, I feel like I can really see the bodies of the trees, and I love that.
And the land. You can see the body of the land better too.
Mhm.
It's more, especially before the snow hits, like we're just now, the snow's coming right now, so now this is like really winter. We're in winter now.
Yeah.
But that period between Samhain and the solstice, when the leaves are off the trees, and the greenery has died down, and you really get to see the land. It
Yeah.
is really cool.
I'm in love with the land
Yes.
Yeah.
and all the things that spring from it. But for me, it's the soil,
Mm.
the literal land itself, and the stones in it, and the stones underneath.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in love, and I want to know everything about it, and I get sad when people mistreat it, and
Yeah, absolutely.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you two have my most recent book, The Seasons of a Magical Life?
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay, because I was going to send that to you, because in
Aw.
that I talk about the day starting at sunset.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
since I've adopted that, it's changed a lot for me, because I start my day by basically going to bed and going to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I wake up, it's midday. It's wonderful. And it really has changed the way my world works.
Hmm.
It's really funny.
Where did you come up with that or come across that idea?
Well, there's the whole Irish thing of the holy day starts at sundown the night
Yep.
before, which is also a Jewish thing. The day starts for Jews at sundown. So I think it's an ancient way of looking at it, that the day begins in the darkest part. Like the year for me begins at the darkest part.
Right.
Um,
And we
That
still
makes
have
sense.
that. You basically, I mean, January 1st is a little bit past, but it's like
Yeah.
midnight. Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. But I agree, that time between Samhain and the winter solstice, which I've started calling the darkening. I call from summer solstice to winter solstice the time of long dying. Isn't that cheerful? It's the time of long dying. But the darkening, that time when there's just no question, these nights are longer and longer and longer, when it's, you're coming home from work. A lot of people coming home from work about 5:30. It's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a lot of places it's dark. And of course in the far north, it's dark even before that.
Yeah, it's very sad for me. But I like, but changing your mindset though of having your day begin at sundown, really it does brighten up the outlook in a
Yeah.
way.
Well,
Yeah.
and what it says to you is an important part of your day is you resting,
Yes.
you sleeping and healing. That's important. That's
Yeah.
not the thing you do because you've exhausted yourself all day long doing
Yes.
all the things you have to do. And we are fortunate. The three of us are fortunate because we get to choose so much of what we do.
Yeah.
We're not working in a steel mill. We're not working in a cotton mill. We're
Yeah.
working land. And I know you all do other things too, but we're fortunate that way. But there are people who, they get up and they go to the gym, and then they do a 9-hour day in some kind of toxic environment. And then they come home and they do all whatever housework and 10 children and and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they really do drop into bed exhausted. And far too people take the time to really tend to themselves. And frankly, if you're not healthy, you can't really be there for other people in the way that you might want to be.
It's true. Yeah, you have to have that rest and digest time, which is something that I really value about winter in general. It's like everything outside has gone to bed, and so my farming tasks that's one less thing that I have to do. And then in the winter, that allows space for the other things that I like to do, like crafts and weaving and or crocheting and like all of these textile arts that I actually kind of save for the winter. Like I tend to not do the crocheting in the summertime. It's like I just sort of save it for the winter so that I can, savor that craft.
Yeah, spinning is that for me, because I love to do hand spinning. But I don't like to do it in the summer because you got that roving up your arm, and then you're doing this with the sticky little hairs of the wool. And I rather do that in the winter when it's cold. And also because it's so active that it kind of warms you up a little bit. I'm spinning now. I'm doing my spinning, which I need to do. I haven't started my spinning yet. I'll do that in January and February.
Nice.
I've been doing a lot of knitting, and I'm an unambitious knitter. I knit scarves.
Yeah.
Lots of scarves.
Love
and
that.
A friend of mine's, a friend of mine, got an early onset dementia, and she was somebody who did a lot of knitting and collected up a lot of really beautiful high-end wool. And so my friend was tasked with giving that wool away to people who would use it. So I ended up with 2 enormous boxes of wool that I never would have been able to afford.
Wow.
I mean, lovely llama, alpaca, Shetland, lovely, lovely wool. So when we get off here, I'm going to be wanting your address. So when the knitting gets going, or maybe I'll have it done by the time you get in January, and I'll just hand it over to you.
Oh yeah,
That
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I actually recently inherited a loom from my great aunt.
You can see it.
And no, I can maybe pull it over, but yeah, actually maybe we can. Oh, you can see it over my shoulder.
Oh, it's big.
It's big. Yeah, it's not set up.
Wow.
But that's something that I want to do. My friends and I want to have like a Weavers Wednesday in the winter and get together and set up the loom and try it out and maybe do some crocheting. And we're actually going to have a wreath making get together this week to make some winter wreaths, which is a weaving kind of thing in itself.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I've been doing these full moon, dark moon rituals online now through COVID for a couple years. And we talk about the concept of weaving community, that we're weaving this basket that holds all of our community, and yet it's flexible enough, because that's what weaving is. It's flexible. It's strong but flexible, that it will hold all of what our community is. And I think the concept of weaving is super important right now. Whether it's literal weaving with a loom or even with those funny little pot holder looms. Did you have those when you were a kid?
Totally.
The loop looms. Even if it's those, it's an important thing to think about, because we're taking disparate things and we're figuring out how they can not only connect, but they lock together in a way that is strong.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful metaphor for us.
Yeah, there seems to be so much of the opposite happening.
Yes.
And it's important to work on that right now. Yeah. And especially, in community.
Yeah, like the Weaving Wednesdays is, a community that's going to be forming, like, of, us gals getting together. And, as you're weaving, you're processing your own life and your emotions, and you're building community that you can lean onto.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's important.
It's a great way to do magic too.
Well, I was just remembering 20 years ago, maybe less, the transition movement really got a foothold. And there was a group, Transition Asheville. There were groups everywhere. But Transition Asheville became this, we came to a parish hall of a very liberal Christian church, and we just talked and talked and talked. And then we broke into committees, and then the committees would meet to talk and talk and talk. And I finally said, for me, if we will come together for a canning evening so that we can talk while we're prepping and canning, or a weaving fiber arts thing, or work in your garden, but I can't sit and talk about climate change and our impending doom with a bunch of people who smell good and have on expensive clothes. I can't do that. I have to be doing what it is we should be doing, and not just talking about doing. And that's kind of been my mantra now for 2 decades, is that we got to stop talking about doing and just do it while we're doing it.
Well, if
Mhm.
the way I see it, with the expensive clothes and the so on, it's if you're talking about it, then you don't have to actually look at your own life and what you're doing and how you're contributing to it and what you could do to make things better.
No, exactly.
You
Exactly.
can just talk about it. You could
Yeah.
post on social media about it. You could blame
And you
somebody
can
else about it.
cry, you can be sad, oh, this is terrible. But what I'm noticing now in like the Uber culture are people going, oh yeah, climate change, it's a real thing. This is how we're gonna make sure our kids don't get too many toxins, blah, 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 blah. So instead of going straight to the problem, we're already trying to find our little micro solutions to keep us safe without thinking about the starving children in Somalia. So we can think about it and go, wah, wah, wah. I'm going to write a check about that, wah, wah, wah. But it doesn't touch us. And we're going to make sure we insulate our family so it doesn't touch us. Sooner or later, it's going to touch you.
Yes.
Sooner or later, it's going to take us all out.
Yeah.
But what
We're all
power
connected.
do we have in the Uber culture? We have no power there.
Right.
So we have to relocalize all of it, all of it.
Mm.
And that's hard. I mean, you all are doing the work right now, but you're also doing the work that supports you doing the work. So like me, you are one step away from actually doing the work because you still have to pay the electric bill
Yeah.
and you still have to pay your taxes, and it's still that hard currency. You got to get that from somewhere.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. We're still dependent on that hard currency to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy.
No.
And I don't also like, I see why people like to just talk about it, because actually doing something about it can be it's like a minefield. It's like, how do you actually do something about it?
Yeah.
But then there are ways of reducing your energy consumption. And there are other things there are things you can do.
Yeah.
Well, about every other month, I guess we get a statement from our electric company, which is now Duke Power. So it's one of the big, super toxic, terrible, terrible people. And it will have, here is the wattage used by the average home, and it's this line here. And then it'll say, and this is the line of people who are really efficient.
Mhm.
And the line below that is our line.
Nice.
Nice.
So we leave the lights off all the time. We do all that stuff we learned to do in the 70s.
Yeah.
But we're obviously, we're not the average. So there are still people around us that are using tons and tons of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's not to say we're yay good for us. It's that it can be done. It can be done. But a lot of people buy into the American mythology of, oh, but I can't. I mean, how do you even do that without a clothes dryer? Oh, how do you hang your clothes up? What do you do in the winter? Well, I heat my house in the winter, so I hang my clothes in the house. It's not rocket science. But I think for a lot of people, it is so daunting to think about. I go from my 3,000 square foot home where I leave the lights on all the time, and I have brand new carpet that is off gassing toxins.
I know.
I have paint on the walls. It's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I import I get all my shit from Amazon. So I'm paying to have that stuff shipped in rather than going, oh, so I need socks. Where locally can I get socks?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Because y'all are in Amish country, so there's going to be plenty of places to get some decent socks. I'm guessing. And a good hat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's the whole Amish I call it the Amish highway, and it's like a country road, but there's like the bridal shop for your garden gear and horses bridles, and the sewing seamstress shop where you can get your socks and hats and fabric and high quality scissors and all that. There's a grocery store for bulk foods. So yeah, they have it all figured out.
But they know how to do it because that's the way they've chosen to live.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Mhm.
Right.
that's the thing about all of us is that we can choose to live that way.
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
can choose to live I mean, we don't have to necessarily live like the Amish, but we can live more like them
Yeah.
than like somebody with a 300 or 3,000 square foot house that uses air conditioning to heat it, to cool it. And it, like, there are ways to also to build your house. I mean, also this does take a lot of resources to build a house in the right way,
Mm.
oriented the right way, use the right materials. But there are, I don't know. I just remember. Well, I don't want to tell that story. Seeing somebody with like a solarium connected to the house on the north side, where there's no wall between the house and the solarium. In the winter, they're just like all the heat is just going out. All of it. They're spending thousands of dollars on
Oil heat.
Yeah, and if they had just talked to somebody who knew about it and had built that solarium on the south side of the house so that it has a solar gain, then they could, on a really sunny day in the winter, they could open up the door from that room and it would heat part of their house. But we lost the know-how for that.
Right.
And people who do it that way, the dominant culture goes, oh, what a freak show. What do you mean you're siding your house so that you have these things facing south? What? I mean, what does it even matter? Because I'm just going to flip on the light switch and it's all going to be fine. Well, it's not fine. It's not fine.
Well, yeah, and I also it's hard for people to see outside of their experience too, and like if they're raised that way, and you don't know that you can just dry your clothes on a line, or that's gross, But the like we did know a lot of this stuff in the 70s, but like I wasn't even alive in the 70s.
No. But it's also not like it's ancient knowledge. It's from the 70s.
Right.
50 years old.
It's still around. And there are all those making books from the 70s that show you how to do it, all those appropriate tech books.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's
kind of about remembering skills.
Yeah, and when you're used to having cheap energy and a reliable energy, then you don't even realize it. But like I'm like people in Europe right now, a lot of them are having to deal with like not having reliable cheap energy. Like that's gonna be a wake up call. I mean, people in California with like the rolling blackouts, Texas, like it's better if you think about that in advance and prepare for that. But preparing for that doesn't make you like a prepper with boxes and boxes of ammo, and it's like, oh, if you think about those things and you're just a crazy right wing.
Right. It's so easy to lump all the nut jobs together.
Yeah.
And and it's a different thing. So if you were prepping, if we were prepping, which we are,
right,
then we wouldn't lay in a supply of ammo. We'd lay in a supply of salt.
Salt.
Yeah. We'd lay in a supply of Epsom salts.
Yeah.
We'd lay in a supply of baking soda.
Right.
Yeah.
We would look at the things that are most useful in our world and that we can't grow.
Mm-hmm.
We would lay in those supplies.
Seeds.
Because that's what you're going to need.
Yeah. I mean, and it makes sense to have some ammo handy and know how to use a gun so you can shoot some of those deer and feed yourself that way. But,
and groundhogs. Groundhogs are big, they're easy to kill, and a lot of meat on them.
Yeah.
We were just in Isaac's family in
West Virginia.
And his grandma was telling me about how she grew up just with the food that they could grow, and groundhogs and squirrels and rabbits, and occasionally the neighbors would give them some beef, but that was her whole sustenance, her life.
But that's also the important thing is laying up connections with your neighbors and your local community.
Yes.
Because that's really, I mean, that's one of the things the Amish have. I mean, they have their own community, but they have those strong ties and help with because you can't do it alone, and you can't specialize. I mean, you have to specialize in a certain way.
Yeah.
You can only do so many things. You can only be good at so many things, and you're never going to be able to be good at everything. And I've tried, and you just can't.
Yeah.
Can't do it. So you've got to have a network of people who can do other things that you can't do
Mhm.
and that live near you.
Yeah, exactly. That live near enough to you that you can walk there if you have to walk there,
Yeah.
Yes, for
or
sure.
take a horse and buggy there if you have. And I know that sounds like crazy doomsday prepper stuff, but we need to know our neighbors. We need
Yeah.
to know our neighbors. You don't have to like them, you don't have to agree with them, but you should know them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially if you live in an urban area where you can't be self-sufficient. You don't have, well, what was that book from the 80s? 1 acre and self-sufficiency, something like that, where you could take an acre of land and you could grow enough food on it for 4 people for a whole year.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can do that. But you know what you have to be doing all the time? Tending.
Right.
Yeah,
Planting, tending, harvesting, preserving. That's what you got to be doing all the time for that to work.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which
I-
means you can't be having an outside job because
Yeah.
you won't have time to do everything that has to be done.
Right.
And that's what we're kind of like trying to figure out now, because like it does take a lot of work to grow food, to grow the herbs for the products. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I like the permaculture model of a highly forageable area. That's the way I see permaculture, forest gardens, as a highly forageable area. So I'm getting that set up, and it's a lot less time consuming than
Mhm.
intensive vegetable gardening. But of
Yeah.
course, with intensive vegetable gardening, you get a lot more productivity out of a smaller amount of space. But yeah, I mean, that's also why you have to have like multiple jobs, and why I'm trying to like get the astrology thing going on,
Right.
because that's something I can do when I'm 80. I don't know if I can necessarily double dig carrot beds when I'm 80. Maybe. I hope so.
Oh, you'll be able to. I know you can. But by the time you're 80, you won't have to double dig them because you will have been tending them
Yeah.
for decades. I mean, I've got places in my garden that I literally, when it is a sort of moist time, I can punch my fist into that bed to my elbow because
Wow.
I've been tending it for decades. Now we have voles. Have you had to deal with voles yet?
Well, we've got cats, so they're
Oh,
dealing with the
see,
wolves.
I think that's going to be the answer, is that I'm going to have to get cats again, but I don't want to have cats when I'm not at home because
Right.
that seems very unfair.
Yeah.
Though,
Yeah.
though cats are pretty happy to have you leave them alone most of the time.
Yeah. If you leave them with some
Yeah.
food, they can do a couple. If they're outside cats,
Yeah,
with the cat door, they can. A couple days is fine for them,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
but maybe not like a month.
No, no. I think they'd go feral in a month. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good point. If I had, or like a what are this? Like a like a terrier.
Yeah. Terrier. Yeah.
Terrier would be good. Would just like dig down and be like, ah, I got you, you bastard.
Yeah.
So yeah. So again, we're back to the working animals, aren't we?
Yeah. Ollie's actually killed a dozen or more voles that I've seen. So I know that he's a good little rodent hunter
But
himself.
he's nothing compared to the cats.
No, the cats are amazing.
You have to like, most of the time that I've seen him kill the voles, it's been like a plywood on the, like rotting plywood on the ground, lift it up. And you have to point out the vole to him, and then he goes and gets it. But the cats, they kill a vole every day,
Yeah.
on their own, and then they help feed themselves,
Mhm.
which is good,
Mhm.
because cat food.
It's the kind of food that they love. That's good for
Right.
them.
Yeah, right, because they're getting all the bones, all the connective tissue, the organ meats,
Yeah,
even the
all that
hair.
stuff.
If they eat the hide, they eat
Mhm.
the whole thing. And
Yeah.
I'm sure all that is very necessary for their optimal diet,
Yeah,
diet.
yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying is I need a cat. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, so how much longer? You said you only have another year or two
I'm
left
gonna be
of.
another solid year. I was uh concluding my schedule for next year last night, and I'm waiting on one date. But next year is booked already. I won't do anything else because I'm spending 2 weeks in Scotland in March.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Gosh.
And I'm going with my friend who was the editor of 3 of my books.
Okay.
And so I'm going to do some book stuff while I'm there. But we're just going to go hang out in Edinburgh and visit friends in Glasgow and Dundee and Kirkcaldy and just not be in this country and see what that feels like for a little while.
That's so fun. I'm
Are
so
you-
happy for you.
Are you doing some any research?
I'll do a little bit. I want to go to Stirling Castle, which was a real hotbed of the border reiver culture, and that's the thing I'm most interested in. But we also have plans to see Rosslyn Chapel. Do you know about that?
No.
It's this it was a private chapel that has these amazing wood and stone carvings in it. So I want to see that. And if I can, and the weather is not terrible, I'm going to take the train to Aberdeen and then take the bus up to Skara because I would like to see that Neolithic, I think it's Neolithic village there. I'd like to see that.
Wow, that's so special.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I've not been back to Scotland in 6 years. So it'll be 7 years by the time I go back. And I used to go every like 2 or 3 years to do research. So I'm glad to be going back. You know, COVID put the kibosh on so much.
Yeah.
And then it was impossible to fly for a little while.
Yeah.
And it's still terrible to fly.
Yeah.
But I'm aware that I speak from a privileged position because I can afford to fly.
Yeah.
But you all are going to where it's sunny and warm.
Yeah.
Doing a little road trip to Florida this year, going all the way to Key West.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're gonna see if we can. We've got a little truck with that because gets good gas mileage and has a bed, so we can camp out there if we need to. And we've got lots of friends all the way down and all the way up, so we're gonna do our rounds and try to get some good sunlight. You know, it's really important to get the sunlight. We've been taking our vitamin D, but I don't know, it's different. Get the real good sunshine.
Well, and you'll talk to lots of creative, good thinkers, which will give you new ideas and inspire you. And you'll play some music and
a little bit.
You know, it's good for your soul and your body.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be booking very many like shows, if any, which is the first time that in a long time that I've actually traveled without touring, which is totally different because when you're touring, you know, you've got a show tonight and you've got a show tomorrow night, 5 hours away. You've got
if you're lucky, it's only 5 hours away.
Right. And then you've got the show the next night after that. And then also the night after that. And each of those is 3 hours, you know, it's just a lot different pace. And hopefully it'll be more manageable for my vitality, and it'll actually help improve my vitality by being in the sunlight and eating fresh citrus, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that sounds so good. So you'll play music with friends. You'll play music for the joy of playing music.
Yeah,
which is how we all should enjoy the arts that we enjoy.
Yeah, he needs that. He has sort of lost that spark of joy when it became just too much of work, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even when you're playing your own songs, if you play the same songs every night, they get stale. Tough. They get stale. They get, you know, you don't want to do it anymore, and then you're like, why am it's but there's always other things to, you know, I'm getting very, very interested in astrology. I've kind of been for the last couple of years now, but there's just so much to learn and do in that department too. So I think it's good to shift focus.
Absolutely. I've been playing around with magical oils made with local products here.
Nice.
And it's been fun because I'll see something that's everywhere, like black walnuts. Black walnuts are everywhere. And I think, okay, what would black walnuts do? So I lay down a little reused jar full of some kind of oil and black walnut hulls, and I leave it down for a moon cycle. And then I take it out and people will go, so what does it do? And I'll go, I don't know yet. I'm gonna try it on a candle. first thing, I'll put it on the palms of my hands and see what it does. And the point of that is to use the stuff that's around me.
Yeah.
And to go, this is here for a reason. What is that reason? But immediately, if I tell somebody, I grow a lot of I can't think what it's called right now, but a particular kind of plant. And well, I'll use woad as an example. So I grow woad culturally because I'm of Irish and Pictish and Scottish extraction, I think. And then I thought, well, what would happen if I laid that down as an oil? And as soon as I do that, people are like, well, so can I buy some?
Yeah.
Would you give me some? Can I buy some? And it's like, that's not the point. The point is for you to look around and go, my yard is full of plantain.
Yeah.
What does plantain do? I mean, in the case of plantain, we know what it does. So it's easy enough to eat it, make a salve with it, make an oil with it, whatever. But I just want people to get curious about the stuff that's around them and to find a way to use that stuff. And it's not to make it a product. Like your music is your music because that's how you express part of your life.
Right.
And you put 5 herbs together that have never been put together before. And you go, you know what this is good for? This is good for bruises. And you know that because you know all of those herbs. And yes, in your case, you do create a product with that. But sometimes you just do it for the sheer joy of looking at your fellow creature and thinking, what can we do together?
Yeah.
And this is what we do together. This is what you and your guitar do. This is what you and those herbs do. This is what I and my soil do. This is the thing we do together that's symbiotic.
Yeah.
It's so important. It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That creative partnership with the world around us and nature.
Yeah.
And I just really like that idea. And I think more people should do that. We should do that more too. And
to
testing
you
it
love
too.
what you love, and to be able to do that without the pressure of producing a product.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's also that, like, you got to pay the electric bill, you got to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
It's a tightrope. But so for me, I like the idea of testing, of making the thing and testing it and seeing what it actually does. Because like with black walnut, I could think, it's anti-parasitic. So is the oil going to be like protective? Is it going to be like removes astral parasites or that kind of thing? Like, but to actually see how you feel when you use it, and to see what the effects are, that I think that's important to do. Let it reveal.
And all of those things are true, but it's really good as a way clearer and road opener. Because black walnut trees won't allow anything. Well, they'll allow a few things to grow around them, but mostly they're like, this is my territory, you need to clear your ass off.
Yeah.
So that's what it's really good for.
Wow.
So if you've got a difficult obstacle that's in your path and you can't figure out how you're going to get around it or get over it or through it, black walnut is a good ally for that.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
And you use the husks.
Yeah. So that the oil is this really rich, beautiful brown.
Yeah.
Which I think would also be really good as a kind of furniture polish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And antifungal.
And it's antifungal. Yeah.
Yeah, got athlete's foot or something.
There was not a recent, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, a book about, Southern Appalachian culture. And it started out with a little girl who was so wormy that worms were like coming out of her mouth and she was really, really sick. And I was like, black walnut. We know black walnut. So you write this thing, were they city people that didn't understand that walnuts will get rid of internal parasites? What the hell was wrong with them? Well, somebody who was like, they were poor old Appalachian people. They couldn't have known anything about medicine. Well, hell yes, we did. And
Yeah.
we still do.
Yeah. Such a rich heritage of using medicinal herbs and plants from the land.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, what's next for you, Byron? You're going to Scotland in March, and then you have a bunch of speaking things, and you're writing a book. Anything else?
Festivals and stuff. And I've got a new book coming out in August from Llewellyn, and it's Simple Practical Magic.
Nice.
That's not actually the title, because the publisher picks out the titles for books.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me look it up, because I have some artwork that has the title on it. It's terrible, because I don't remember the name of my own book. It's really embarrassing. Okay, it's called Small Magics, Practical Secrets from an Appalachian Village Witch.
Oh, cool. Small magics.
And it came from all the, I'm a person who defends the TikTok witches a lot, because we all did a bunch of crazy shit when we were trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
So I defend them in that sense, when they like hex the moon and the fae.
Oh God.
Right.
Yeah, we all did that, but we didn't have a million followers, and we didn't
Sure.
videotape it. So
Yeah.
but I realize that so many people don't know the fundamentals of energy movement.
Yeah.
They don't know how to harvest energy and contain it and set an intention around it and move it forward, which is what magic is. They have to have all these right tools, and they have to have a particular book that says a spell in a particular way, when that's not what magic is at all. Magic is utilizing energies around you, wrapping your intention around them, and through your will sending them forth to do the work, which a lot of people don't know anymore. They don't understand basics like grounding. They don't understand how to get some shields around them, or put up wards, or to use anything but their own life force to create change in the world around them, which is incredibly unhealthy.
Yeah.
So it was a discussion in social media, and I've been doing a class called Simple Practical Magic for about 6 or 7 years. I said, oh my God, do I need to turn this into a book? Because you people, you don't understand the basics of this.
Yeah.
And my editor at Llewellyn sent me a private note like 3 hours later, and she said, yeah, you probably need to do that. So that'll be out in August. And in September 1, the new book, which I will tell you about as soon as I can, is due. So that'll come out in 24.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
I'm in a collection of North American folk magic. I have a piece in that.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm busy. I'm writing. And as I said, in the beginning of May, when we have our enormous herb sale here, I'm going to be repurchasing all the herbs that died this year from neglect.
Yeah. Well, it's hard when you're traveling to do balance a garden, and
I still feel guilty though. I do.
yeah, it's okay.
Whorehound. How do you kill whorehound?
Yeah.
Well, it happens.
It happens for sure.
It happens.
Yeah.
So people can find you at your website is the best place, myvillagewitch.com.
Yeah, that's a place to start. We're getting ready to redo the website, but that won't happen for another few months. Or they can find me on social media under Byron Ballard. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm still on Twitter for now.
Nice. Yeah.
I just follow a bunch of art historians and herbalists, and so Twitter is still lovely for me. It's never been a minefield.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for being on the show again. Excited to talk to you, hopefully, when your new book comes out about the fundamentals of magic, which I think is very important. But why don't you go ahead and stop the recording? And
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all so much.